The Baden Revolution of 1848–1849 was a regional uprising in the Grand Duchy of Baden which was part of the revolutionary unrest that gripped almost all of Central Europe at the time. As part of the popular liberal March Revolution in the states of the German Confederation, the revolution in the state of Baden in what is now southwestern Germany was driven to a great extent by radical democratic influences. They were striving to create a Baden Republic, subordinated to a greater Germany, under the sovereignty of the people, and aligned themselves against the ruling princes. The high points were the Hacker uprising in April 1848, the Struve Putsch of September 1848, and the rebellion as part of the Imperial Constitution campaign in May 1849, which assumed civil warlike proportions and was also known as the May Revolution. The rebellion ended on the 23rd of July 1849 with the military defeat of the last revolt and the capture of Rastatt Fortress by federal troops under Prussian leadership. Historical overview. At the Hambach Festival of 1832, the signs of political upheaval, known as the Vormars, were evident. Among the participants at the festival was Johann Philipp Becker. After the outbreak of the French Revolution of 1848 in Paris and the proclamation of the Second Republic in France, the revolutionary spark initially jumped to Baden before the other countries of the German Confederation gave way to revolutionary unrest and uprisings. The German March Revolution not only started in Baden, but also ended here when Rastatt Fortress, the last bastion of the revolutionaries, was captured by Prussian troops on the 23rd of July 1849. The Baden Revolution had two phases. Between the beginning of March 1848 and September 1848, there were two attempts to form a republic in southwestern Germany, the Hacker uprising and the rebellion led by Gustav Struve in Lörrach, with the defeat of Friedrich Hacker and his followers at Kanden and his flight into exile, and the arrest of Gustav Struve in September. This first phase ended. The second phase began after the rejection of the Constitution of St. Paul's Church by the most of the royal houses of the German parliament, with the May insurrections of 1849, not only in Baden, but also in other German states. They represented an attempt to enforce the constitution. This second phase ended in Baden with the defeat of the rebels at the last battle in July 1849 in Rastatt. Characteristic of the Baden Revolution, unlike other uprisings in the German Confederation, was the persistent demand for a democratic republic. By contrast, the revolutionary councils and parliaments of the other principalities of the Confederation favored a constitutional and hereditary monarchy. Radical democratic and early socialist revolutionaries were strongly represented in Baden. Some of the most prominent leaders were Friedrich Hacker, Gustav Struve and his wife Amalia, Gottfried Kinkel, Georg Herwey and his wife Emma. Furthermore, Wilhelm Liebknecht, who at the time was relatively unknown but later co-founded the Social Democratic Workers' Party of Germany, the predecessor party of SPD, participated in September 1848 in the uprising in Lörrach and in May 1849 in the Baden Revolution as Struve's adjutant. The socialist Friedrich Engels, who during the March Revolution wrote for the Neue Rheinische Zeitung published in Cologne by Karl Marx, also took an active part in 1849 in the final phase of the Baden Revolution in the fighting against counter-revolutionary Prussian troops. Finally, the married couple Fritz and Matilda Franziska Anneke from Cologne joined the Baden rebels. The basis of the revolution in Baden was based on the Volksvereine or popular associations. The following table shows the connection between the revolution in Baden, the events in the German Confederation and Europe. Chronology: the 12th of September 1847, in the Offenburg Assembly of the key supporters of the Constitution, Friedrich Hecker takes the 13 demands of the people in Baden for citizens' rights, social security and equality, which Gustav Struve consolidated into 4 pressing demands of the deputations in Karlsruhe. 1. Arming of the people with open elections of officers. 2. Unrestricted press freedom. 3. Jury courts based on the English model. 4. Immediate formation of a German parliament. The 27th of February 1848, the Mannheim People's Assembly take up the 13 demands of the people again and send them as a petition to the second chamber of the Baden Landstand. The 28th of February 1848, in Freiburg in the house known as Schurtannen, the gathering elects a People's Committee, puts a catalogue of revolutionaries' demands together and sends it with a delegation to Karlsruhe. The delegation arrives at the state capital on the 1st of March. The 1st of March 1848 to 20,000 men demonstrate in front of the Stande House of the Parliament. Several demonstrators enter the building. Hecker demands the removal of the privileges of the nobility and the liberation of the peasants, thus removing the last vestiges of medieval feudalism. The 2nd of March 1848, the First Chamber adopts a bill to abolish the remnants of feudalism, to make the army swear loyalty to the Baden Constitution and to establish religious equality for members of non-Christian faiths. The 4th of March 1848, peasants revolt in North Baden. The revolution spreads to other states in the German Confederation. The 19th of March 1848, Great People's Assembly in Offenburg, which is attended by 20,000 people. Hecker and Struve speak to the crowd. They accuse the government of Baden of having indeed agreed to the 13 demands of the people of the past year in September in the wake of the popular movement in early March, but in delaying their implementation, only wanting to win time to withdrawal of concessions again at the earliest opportunity. The 26th of March 1848, Karl von Rottig Jr. opens a public meeting in Freiburg in the presence of Struve, where the organizers call from the safeguarding of personal liberty by a special law and the complete separation of church and state. In the intoxication of enthusiasm, the assembly on the Münsterplatz approved a letter to the Prussian king, in which Struve criticizes Frederick William's behavior in the March days as a royal actor and citizen killer. The 12th of April 1848, in Constance, Hecker and Struve proclaimed the Republic and call on the people to take up arms in the name of a provisional government. The Hecker uprising makes its way to the Rhine plain, where it intends to unite with a procession led by Georg Herwig, the German Democratic Legion, from France, in order to march on the state capital of Karlsruhe. The 20th of April 1848, battle on the Schiedeck. At Kanden in the Black Forest, the rebels of the Hecker contingent are defeated and routed by Hessian troops. Friedrich Hecker flees into exile, initially in Switzerland and finally to the USA. The 24th of April 1848, volunteers under Franz Sigel march to Freiburg, which is occupied by rebels, in order to break through the ring of government troops. The relief operation fails. Instead, government forces storm the last barricade at the Swabian Gate and bring about a bloodbath among the volunteers. 27. April 1848, Herweg's 900-strong German Legion is defeated at the Battle of Dossenbach by Württemberg infantry. The 21st of September 1848, at an uprising in Lörrach, under the cry of health, education, freedom for all, Struve again proclaims a republic, but only gets as far as Staufen in his subsequent journey northwards. At the battle for Staufen Bay, troops defeat the rebels. Struve is apprehended a few days later, the 29th of January 1849, in Freiburg. Karl von Rottig Jr. founds the Republican People's Union. As a counter-movement on the 18th of February, his cousin, Mayor Joseph von Rottig, and other constitutional liberals announced the founding assembly of a fatherland union, loyal to the sovereign. Both unions fight one another in a stubborn propaganda war. The 20th of March 1849, in Freiburg, the trial begins of Gustav Struve and Karl Blind in the Bauslahof before a jury court. Following the sentencing to 8 years imprisonment, the criminals are taken to Rastatt Fortress. The 9th of May 1849, during the course of the May uprisings of 1849, by which people attempt to enforce the recognition of the changes to the Imperial Constitution brought about by the revolution in the individual states of the German Confederation. Soldiers of the Baden army garrison in the federal fortress at Rastatt mutiny and fraternize with some of the revolutionary vigilantes in their show of loyalty and love for the people. The 11th of May 1849, fraternization of Republicans with the 2nd Baden Infantry Regiment in Freiburg. 12th–13th May 1849, at the Delegates' Conference of the Baden People's Unions in Freiburg, Amin Goeg asks the question about the proclamation of the Republic, but finds no support. The 13th of May 1849, a People's Assembly in Offenburg agrees a 16-point program, which inter alia demands the unconditional recognition of the Imperial Constitution and the formation of a new, albeit still Grand Ducal, government under the liberal politician, Lorenz Brentano. The official Grand Ducal government refuses the demands of the Offenburg Assembly. On the evening of the 13th of May, the Revolutionary State Committee of People's Unions drives to Rastatt, where Amin Goeg announces the Offenburg Agreement from the balcony of the town hall, and Brentano swears in militia and soldiers to the Imperial Constitution. That same night of 13/14 May, Grand Duke Leopold flees from his residence in Karlsruhe into exile at Koblenz. The 14th of May 1849, the Hoffmann-Beck ministry is declared dismissed, and an executive commission of the State Committee, which initially takes over the government business in the absence of the Grand Ducal government, which has fled, establishes itself with Amin Goeg, Joseph Ignaz Peter and Karl Joseph Eichfeldt under the President, Lorenz Brentano. May 1849, Johann Philipp Becker is tasked with the creation and organization of the Volkswehr militia. His first order of the day is dated the 21st of May. The 30th of May 1849, a battle takes place between the Volkswehr and Hessian troops near Heppenheim. The 1st of June 1849, under Lorenz Brentano, a provisional democratic government is formed, in which the conservative liberal forces dominate. The State Committee disbands itself. The 3rd of June 1849, the men of Baden eligible to vote agree to the electoral code of the German National Assembly on the composition of a constituent National Assembly. However, the Baden Constituent Assembly of 1849 only lasted from the 10th of June to the 30th of June 1849. The 5th of June 1849, in Karlsruhe, a club of resolute progress forms under the leadership of Struve, now released, and Becker, and demands from the government decisive revolutionary measures. The delegation had them arrested by the delegation, but they had to be released under pressure from the volunteers stationed in the town. June 1849, the Polish revolutionary, Ludwig Miroslavski, is appointed as general of the Revolution Army. Federal troops under the command of Lieutenant General Eduard von Pucker and 2 improvised Prussian army corps under the Prince of Prussia, as well as a Hessian contingent of troops under Friedrich Ferdinand Wilhelm von Schaefer Christopher Bernstein invade Baden. In order to defeat the revolution, 16 June 1849, Baden forces win battles on the line of the river Neckar at Mannheim, Kaffethal, Ladenburg and Hirschhorn. The 20th of June 1849, after ousting the revolutionary troops, the 1st Prussian Corps under Moritz von Hirschfeld leaves the Palatinate over the Rhine near Germersheim. 22 June 1849, Hirschfeld gains victory in the Battle of Waghäusel, forcing the Baden troops to retreat in order to escape being surrounded. The 25th of June 1849, Battle of Erlach, at which Becker's Volkswehr cover the withdrawal of the army at the line of the Murg. The revolutionary government flees to Freiburg im Breisgau and with it the revolutionary troops. The 28th of June 1849, the Constitutional Assembly meets in the Bauslerhof at Freiburg. At the direction of Struve, they agree to continue the war against the enemies of German unity and freedom with all means at the disposal, whereupon Brentano stands down as head of the government and Amin-Goeg, together with Minister of War Werner, formed the Provisional Government of Baden with dictatorial powers. 29–30 June 1849, bloody fighting on the Murg at the Battle of Gernsbach. On the 29th of June, Ludwig Miroslavski appoints Major Gustav Tiedemann from Struve's circle as governor of Rastatt Fortress. Revolutionary units withdraw to South Baden. The 2nd Prussian Corps under Karl von der Groben destroys Rastatt. The 1st of July 1849, a final contingent of about 4,000 men marches past to the representatives of the revolutionary government and the supreme commander, Franz Sigel, in Freiburg. The 7th of July 1849, the Prussians march into Freiburg unopposed. The 9th of July 1849, the citizens' militia of Sipplingen arrest insurgents in Bodmin and transfer them to Fullendorf. The 12th of July 1849, revolutionary troops cross the border into Switzerland at Bolterswil and Constanz and ask for asylum. The 23rd of July 1849, after being surrounded for 3 weeks, Rastatt surrenders to Groben. The governor of Rastatt becomes the Prussian general Heinrich von Holleben. The revolution had failed. The Baden army was disbanded and later rebuilt under Prussian leadership. Many of the rebels escaped into exile, including Struve, Brentano, Karl Schwyz, Friedrich Engels and Friedrich Buste. Others were arrested and brought before courts-martial with Prussian and Baden boards. Following the fall of Rastatt, the Prussian commander, Karl Alois Fickler, the brother of Baden agitator Joseph Fickler, was charged with the defeat of the accused. The courts sentenced 27 rebels to death by firing squad and pronounced long jail sentences in Prussian prisons against other revolutionaries. In the casemates of Rastatt, where many revolutionaries were held prisoner, typhoid fever broke out and caused many deaths. Revolutionaries executed by court-martial. From the 27th of July to the 27th of October 1849, courts-martial took place in Mannheim, Rastatt and Freiburg. A total of 27 death sentences were pronounced and carried out. 4 other death sentences were not carried out. In Rastatt 19 death sentences were pronounced. Otto von Korven, who had also been given the death sentence, was reprieved and his sentence commuted to imprisonment. Gottfried Bauer, private soldier, Gesheim. Karl Bernig, Major, Mühlhausen. Ernst Gustav von Biedenfeld, battalion commander, Buhl. Georg Berning, clockmaker, commander of the Refugee Legion, finished as Colonel, Wiesbaden. Andreas Kunis, private soldier, Pforzheim. Ernst Elson Hans, publisher, Feuerbach. Joseph Gunthard, private soldier, Konstanz. Konrad Heilig, former Baden NCO, finished as major and commander of the fortress artillery at Rastatt, Fullendorf. Karl Jacobi, major of the Labour Battalion, Mannheim. Peter Jaeger, private soldier, of Samstadt. Jean-Joseph Janssen, surveyor, Cologne. Joseph Karl-Marx, sergeant, Rastatt. Ludwig Kohlenbecker, private soldier, Karlsruhe. Konrad Lenzinger, corporal, Erlach. Theophil Niewski, Polish officer, Wadzirady. Ludwig Peter Wilhelm Schade, lieutenant, Karlsruhe. Friedrich Wilhelm Schrader, deserter from the 8th Prussian Artillery Brigade, Mansfeld. Gustav Nikolaus Tiedemann, former Baden Dragoon lieutenant, finished as colonel and commander of Rastatt Fortress, Landshut. Philipp Zenthofer, gunsmith and private soldier, Mannheim. In Freiburg, following court-martial-like proceedings, 3 revolutionaries were sentenced to death in 1849 in Freiburg and executed by firing squad at Weyera Cemetery on the dates shown. Johann Maximilian Daughter, Prussian NCO, during the Revolution, major in the Baden Volkswehr, sentenced on the 11th of July by the military court, the 31st of July. Friedrich Neff, student of philosophy, participant in the uprisings led by Hecker and Struve, the 9th of August. Gebhard Kromer, corporal in the Baden Revolutionary Army, the 21st of August. In Mannheim, 5 death sentences were pronounced. Theodor Mogeling, who was also sentenced to death in Mannheim, was reprieved and his sentence commuted to a term of imprisonment. The Mannheim court in martial issued jail sentences of 10 years in 15 other cases. Karl Hofer, teacher, Bremen Altneudorf. Valentin Strube, Adolf von Truchler, Peter Lacker, Gottlieb Heinrich Dietz. Theater. Die Geschichtstheatergesellschaft on 4 July 1998, Stuttgart, acknowledged the Baden revolutionaries in a performance in period uniforms and with historical props for the 125th anniversary of the address by Friedrich Hecker on 4 July 1873. Film. Lenz oder die Freiheit, 4-part TV film, revolutionary drama about the Baden Revolution of 1849. After the eponymous translation of the original English historic novel by Stephen Heim, Bundesrepublik Deutschland, 1986, 4 times 90 minutes. Directed by Dieter Berner.